Welcome to Matcha Morning Club, a cozy lifestyle podcast hosted by your two favorite besties, Alexa and Victoria.
Hello everyone. Today we will be sipping on coconut cloud matcha and we will be discussing dating abroad.
Yes, because both of us are abroad from our home countries and we
Yes.
have been dating abroad, different nationalities, ended up with long-term partners who are different to our nationalities. So I think we can confidently call ourselves experts on dating abroad.
Yeah.
Maybe not too much, but we do
No.
have experience that we can share with all of you in case
Well,
you're
we
struggling.
both found partners abroad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, I guess,
That's enough.
the maximum level of
Yeah.
success you can achieve in that field. But yeah, we thought it's going to be an interesting topic. I think dating is such a broad and like hot topic anyway,
Yeah.
because obviously it affects pretty much everyone. So maybe let's start with telling people where we're from and where our partners are
Okay.
from.
So I'm from Ukraine and my partner is from Scotland, Edinburgh, Midlothian, born and bred. Never moved anywhere.
Perfect. Well, I'm from Poland and my partner is from Northern Ireland, from Belfast. So, UK boys.
Yeah, UK boys in
UK
general. I think we can
U-
generalize them a little.
Yeah, a UK boy. For you, very local. For me, not really, but
Yeah.
kind of. It's similar enough
similar.
culturally. So, I mean, it's not the most exciting mix, let's be honest.
It's not like Mexican and Ukrainian.
Yeah, we
or-
didn't get... I did date a Spanish guy as well. So, if you need my credentials.
I mean, mine only really goes Ukrainian, French, English.
Oh, we have French.
And, yeah, and Scottish. I think that's it.
Well,
I'm not including like super brief, like a couple of dates
Yeah,
with like a Portuguese guy. But I know one thing, I'm not into like Southern Europe type of men. Not for me.
Well, I have Polish, Spanish, and Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Irish. I don't know if there is like a massive difference and I'm going to be offending
Yeah, probably.
someone. So, yeah. So, all right. Maybe let's start with language barriers. Did you experience any language barriers?
I don't think I've ever had like a really, what you can say, like, you know, we weren't understanding each other kind of situation. What I did struggle with when I started dating my now husband is Scottish accent. And
Well, of
he actually
course.
did say then, a few months after we had started dating, that he was speaking more clearly with me and for me. I did not realize that at the time. Like, it wasn't obvious to me because he still obviously had a Scottish accent. But then when later on I had met his dad, I kid you not, I could not understand his dad for like about 6 months since I've met him. I was literally really struggling unless he was talking directly at me really close to me. But if he was just chatting in the car, I'm like, I have no idea what he's saying. So just in that way, and I still struggle with Michael's granddad because he's not only 86, he had an operation on his lip, and he has a very strong Scottish accent. So I would
Fair
say I
enough.
still understand about 50%. So to me, it's been an accent most of the time because I think my level of English by the time I had met Michael was pretty good. But maybe before I would have struggled. I did, however, experience something like slight language barrier with a French guy I was dating. It was a couple of times where we would go out and he would say something and I was like, what? Like, can you repeat? And he would always be very kind and explain, but it was like just a tiny bit awkward. What about you?
So I don't speak Spanish. So obviously there was, but we both spoke English. So
Yeah.
we both communicated in our second language. So that was fine. With my boyfriend now, sometimes it's again the same thing. It's not the level of English, it's his accent.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got used to it, but still sometimes when he says certain words, I'm like, what did you say? What did you say?
And then he repeats it and you're like, what?
And then he gets annoyed because
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me, okay?
Say it in standard English.
Yeah, I'm like, slow down, slow down. But apart from that, not really.
Mm-hmm.
There was not language barrier per se, or like any huge miscommunication
Yeah.
issues. So that's fine. However, I wanted to ask you, have you seen Emily in Paris?
Yes, yes.
So spoilers for last season that came
Mm-hmm.
out ages ago. So, but you've been warned. There was a scene when there is an argument between her and the French boyfriend, whatever, and he shouted at her in French,
Mm.
and he kind of brought up the fact that she cannot speak French. And I saw some comments from people being like, yeah, she's been there a year. Clearly, you've never learned a language from scratch. If you
Yeah.
think you're fluent after a year,
Especially something like French.
any language
Yeah.
really, unless it's very similar. I guess like Portuguese and Spanish share
Yeah.
enough similarities when maybe you can pick
Same
up
like
on it.
family of languages.
Yeah,
They're
but like
similar.
clearly it comes from people that never learned another
Yeah.
language and it shows. But my second thing was because being in relationships, we're both in a relationship when our partners don't speak our mother tongues.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's not an issue.
No.
And like, that's why this outburst was so weird to me because
I think it's just like kind of like French people for you, to be honest. I think for me, that's because I lived in France for a short time and they really appreciate when you speak French and you try, especially if you're like a student and people will always help you. But I kind of like, in a way, I do get where he's coming from, but also he can't really blame her for that. You know, it's not like, well, why don't you learn English and argue in English?
well, he can speak it. That's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
thing. Like, he can speak English. Obviously, they've been in a relationship, so they communicate in English. But then
I think there's
also,
one thing about English. Whether people like it or not, English is the universal language. Like English is
Yeah.
spoken all over the world as your international language that everyone, if you know, the first language that you study at school is kind of like English most of the time, the second one, unless like specifics. So of all languages, I think English should be the most obvious one for an international couple to choose, unless obviously one of them knows a different language really well.
yeah.
And that's why I think like getting angry because your partner does not speak your mother tongue where you had made very little effort to help them
Also, very early on,
very early
because they
on.
weren't dating. That like I know it's a fictional thing, but
Yeah.
I think it does show certain people's stance on it. And I think first of all, learning a language is a very long process, and you know, expecting someone to be fluent,
Yeah.
because to have an argument with someone in a foreign language, you have to be fluent in that
That's the
language.
definition of fluency. Yeah, if you can joke and argue in a language,
Yeah,
you're
when
considered
emotions
fluent.
come
Yeah.
in play, because you know, when you're calm and collected and you can kind of like think in your head, but like when it's an
One can argue
argument,
well in English.
so I don't know, it was something that I found very interesting when I saw comments on that, because I would really like to know if people that were commenting like, yeah, why didn't she learn it, can they speak another language, because I don't think they can.
Yes, and I think it's very easy to make that point when you're like, well, you know what, no difference. So how would you relate to that? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think obviously we live in an English speaking country, and if my boyfriend wanted to learn Polish, to me it's completely up to him, and that's his decision. We don't need it to communicate. In fact, I don't think he will ever learn, like if he decided to learn it, I think he will never reach the level of how I
And
speak
that's
in
another
English,
point.
which it would be nice, but we'd still communicate in English.
It would be purely his personal choice in terms of like he just really wants to just because if you're not planning on living in Poland, then it's no, I don't want to say it's useless, no, but there's a difference between, I think when people are picking a second language or a third language to learn, it's very important to understand what's the likelihood of you using it all the time.
Because that's also how you learn.
Yeah,
So it's really hard to learn a language when you're not
like
so
immersed in it.
yes, exactly. Which with English is very easy because you have so many movies and so
Yeah.
many like music is a lot of music, popular music is in English, so it's really easy to immerse yourself even if you don't live
Yeah.
in an English speaking country. However, yeah, I think if it's important to you, it's fair enough. Like people care about these things, but I think ultimately like one common language is more than
Yeah.
enough. And yeah, like I said, especially I started learning English as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So
Same.
it was so much easier for me. And I know now, like I would like to learn another language
Yeah.
just cause. But I know how much time and effort
It
it
is
takes.
like I learned French fairly quickly, as in like I learned it in 3 years basically, but it was also very intense. I was doing
And you were
something for
younger.
it. Yeah, I was younger and I had an amazing teacher. I studied French at uni, so it was part of my degree. We had an insane teacher. I think it's only thanks to her being our teacher that we managed to get to such a good level. And we also had a goal in place. Like we knew we wanted to do Erasmus exchange. So we like, unless you learn it, you're not
Yeah.
going to go. As simple as that. And then we would literally learn it every single day. Whereas now, if I was to pick up a new language, it's just really hard to dedicate that amount of time
I don't
as
think
well.
you're able to. I think because I tried to learn Spanish and I signed up for classes, but I was going like once a week.
Yeah, it's not going to cut it.
No.
If someone tells me, like, oh, I want to start learning a new language, I'll be doing it once a week. I'll be like,
You can, but you have to learn a lot by
well,
yourself.
yeah, that's what I mean. So if someone just goes to kind of like one class a week and that's kind of it, and they do a little bit of homework, sorry, but it's not going to work. Argue with me, fight with me. But
Unless you're like,
like unless your ability to learn languages is
yeah,
incredibly amazing, and I think mine is because I think learning French as fast as we did was down to like how like us as personalities, because there was only 9 of us in the class and we were very good at it as well.
I think it's also, well, it's proven actually. Like once you learn one foreign language, every other is a bit easier.
Yeah,
And I
that
saw
too.
that when I was in my Spanish class, because most of the people there were native English speakers that didn't speak another language. And to them as adults, they grasp on that some languages are just structured differently. They had a really hard time like wrapping their heads around it because they didn't have the experience. Well, for me it was natural. I'm like Polish has different structure than English. So, and I learned French as well. I didn't use it in my adult life, so it's gone now, but
Yeah.
I understand that like when you learn a new like languages are just different, so it's not something that surprises me. And also I get to pull from two languages,
Yeah.
which makes it easier because a lot of not a lot of but some words in Spanish sounded like words in Polish,
Hmm.
some words in Spanish sounded like words in English, so I had two
Yeah,
languages.
you already know what the
Like the
word means.
database was bigger, I
Yeah.
could like attach it to more things, while people with one language obviously just have that one, and then they're like, oh my god, but like they try to kind of build sentences that like they would in their mother
Yeah.
tongue, but that's not how it works. This turned into a language
I know.
podcast.
I was like,
Let's
sorry,
move
let's go back
on.
to dating. I was actually
Maybe
thinking the same.
actually maybe if it's something of interest to you,
Yeah.
we could do
Do
an
like a
episode on
language episode.
languages. Yeah, but maybe let's talk about family
Hmm.
and like cultural differences. Were there any like cultural differences in like family involvement or like family expectations between your family and how
Hmm.
you were raised and Michael's family?
Yeah, and I think that's quite also nationality as well here.
Mm-hmm.
So in Eastern Europe in general, and my family in particular, I was expected to do really well at school. I had, well, that's one thing. I had certain expectations of myself as a child. My parents had to do well. They really cared about what I did at the university. Like I literally sat down with my dad for like half a day to even decide what I'm going to study, like what, it was very hands on. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
I know that Michael's family is very sort of like, do what makes you happy.
More laid back.
A little bit more laid back. They weren't as focused like on their grades, which I don't personally agree with. Like, I think it just depends on the child. It depends on the parent. Um, for me, like, I probably wouldn't be as harsh on my children as my parents maybe were on me, but I would still require, like, if you're doing something that you love, you need to do it well. That's my stance.
I agree. With the differences, that's just my observation. I'm sure it's different for every
Yeah.
family, but I think parenting in the UK is more laid back in
Yeah,
that
it is in
sense.
general.
While you definitely get more helicopter parents in Eastern Europe, and parents that
Helicopter parents.
you have to. There are certain expectations, and yeah, it was expected of me to go to
Yeah.
university. It was expected of me to do well. I was very lucky looking back, I had one demanding parent and one chill parent.
Okay.
So I got like a really nice
Mix.
mix and a good balance. And I'm not planning on having children, but I think something in between Eastern Europe and
Yeah.
here would be probably best. But I do agree that as a child, you need a certain push.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was a teenager, I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
I wanted to hang out with my friend and like drink a beer in somewhere and like, like do all the things that teenagers want to do.
Mm.
But I wish also that there was more exploration of possibilities.
Okay.
I wish maybe that was explored more and there was a bit more push towards what you like and like kind of do what you love versus do what brings you money,
Yeah.
like in between, because I think a lot of people end up in jobs they hate
Yeah.
even though they bring them money.
Yeah.
But that's something I realized as well. What about any holiday traditions?
I think like Christmas is very strong in the UK, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in Ukraine we have like the New Year is the biggest holiday, and obviously Easter, and here it's kind of like Christmas and Easter. So for me, it was, yeah, I didn't find it difficult to kind of like settle into that British rhythm of how they celebrate holidays. Like I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the religion is different, but for that matter, I'm not religious. So again, to me, it wasn't a big deal to actually swap from
Mm-hmm.
one thing to another. I
Yeah.
wasn't like particularly feeling too strong about it anyway. One thing that we don't really do in Ukraine and that we do here is cards.
Oh yeah.
Uh, for a birthday, yes, people would maybe bring you like a birthday card. But apart from that, not really. Like Christmas cards are not a thing in Ukraine. And here, the card like culture is so strong. And it did take me a little bit to get used to it. Because now I think over the course of the year, Michael gets at least 4 cards from me. We do obviously Christmas card to each other. We do Valentine's card to each other.
Oh,
I
cute.
didn't get him one year, and he's still very upset about it. Then we obviously do the birthday card, and then recently we are both dog parents, so we started doing like Mother's and Father's Day
Oh,
card, but like
cute.
for the dogs. So and it's very like if Michael is even like hinting on the fact that he will always say, "You still didn't get me a card. You only have like a day left." So I think that is very strong in like dating culture, like cards.
I mean, Cameron's not really a card person, but UK in general, it's so heavy on the cards. I like it. I love the cards. I love getting a card. There's even for people that don't live in the UK, there's even a whole shop called Card Factory that just sells cards basically. Um, so yeah, it's insane. And if you go to a supermarket, the size of the card sections,
Yeah.
it's in Poland, you'll get like 5 cards. And I was like,
Yeah,
you
it's
pick
actually the
one.
choice is not that big.
Yeah, because one time I went to Poland and I think I was going to a wedding or something and I forgot to buy a card and bring it with me because normally that's what I do because the selection here is just so much better. And I went to like a big bookshop which had a
Yeah.
card section. And it was so just like they had literally like 5 different wedding cards. And I was like, what is
Yeah,
this?
the choice.
Yeah. So definitely cards. I agree. I don't know if we don't really spend Christmas together
Mm-hmm.
because Cameron usually goes back to
Yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
family and I fly to Poland. I would, I think I'd have a really hard time not going to Poland for
Yeah.
Christmas. I,
If you have like very established traditions
yeah, I
at home, then
just,
yeah, it would be like a big change for you to say like say like 1 year you go to Cameron's and you will probably miss home.
I went to Spain once. It
Mm-hmm.
was during COVID when I was with my ex-partner, and we went to Spain because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't, like, my mom has health issues, so I couldn't just go home. So we went to spend Christmas with his family, and it was so bizarre because it was so warm. And they
Mm.
really tried because they don't really celebrate that much. So like they put
Yeah.
up Christmas tree just for me and
Oh,
stuff,
cute.
which was really sweet. But the Polish Christmas is
Yeah.
just, I guess because it's such a, like, as a child maybe you're more attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but overall, I don't think there's that many differences.
No, I think it's just, I think because we are not heavily religious or not religious at
Yeah,
all. I think
yeah,
when it comes down to religion, if you're like very different religion, like Muslim and say Catholic, then it's huge.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. One thing I realized is about gift giving, but I
Mm.
don't even mean like gift giving for an occasion because that's pretty similar. But that's something that Cameron pointed out. So I have a Polish friend that lives in Edinburgh as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me once, why do you always have to bring
Oh,
something when you
yes.
go to visit her? And that's a very Polish thing, probably Eastern
Yeah.
European custom. That even like I've known her for years and years. So it's not like she's like I'm going to hers for the first time. But even when I'm popping for a tea,
Mm.
I'd bring some like biscuits, a pastry. Like, I'm not saying gifts, but
No,
like
just
you,
something
you just don't
small.
show up empty handed to people's houses.
I struggled with it a little here because, so I do have like a couple of friends that are Eastern European, and some of them, they also wouldn't bring anything anymore. Some of them would. And then, like sometimes I would ask, if there's anything you want I can bring. And they say no. And I'm like, okay, you said no, so you don't get it any. Right?
No.
But
Wrong.
but my mom, so I was going to a concert with one of my friends from Moldova, and I was going with my mom as well. So we're going to her flat. And I asked my friend, I was like, do you need anything? Because I knew they were preparing like little, snacks and stuff before the concert. And I asked her, do you need us to get anything? She was like, no, we have like far too much stuff anyway. I was like, okay. And I told it to my mom. My mom was like, absolutely not a chance. We're going to get something. I was like, Mom, it will be too much.
No, doesn't matter.
So she got, tell me. So my mom got some fruit. She got a plant. She got some biscuits.
Lovely.
So we get there, and obviously my friend was like, oh, like you didn't have to, la la. And obviously my mom was like, no, I'm putting it on the table. Had to get eaten, but we didn't eat it all.
Mhm.
Because obviously still, and that kind of to me, I'm like, if someone tells me no, like I won't bring anything. But I have like a certain opinion on like waste. Like I don't want something to be wasted either.
I get that, but in that case, you wouldn't open it. So,
Well,
for
I guess,
example, you
yes.
give it to someone, and if there's already plenty of stuff, they put it in their cupboard.
Yeah, and
And then they can eat
munch
it,
in the
or
middle
they
of the
can
night.
give it forward to another Eastern European friend
Oh,
when
yeah,
they
we do that.
go. Exactly. So, like, my parents have like had a whole section of like different chocolates and stuff. And my mom, like, when there was like a good deal, for example, for like some really nice
Yeah,
chocolates,
my mom's like
she'd
this too.
buy more and like she'd check if they have like long dates.
Yeah, because she will give
Like,
them away anyway.
yeah,
Yeah,
so she'd stock up in case they get invited somewhere and
yeah.
she just needs to grab something so she doesn't have to go to the shop. She will literally also like this, the strength of character to not eat all that sweet stuff. Um,
One of the things I do is I keep gift bags.
I keep gift
If
bags.
they're in a good condition, like if they haven't been obviously used, I'll keep it because
Yeah.
they're expensive. They're like £3 or £5 a bag.
Also, that's a waste as well if you just
It's
bin
a waste
them.
of paper.
It is a waste of paper. But no, I'm very strong on like bringing even a small thing. I will try. And because that's so, here's the explanation. Because if someone asks you, if you ask a Eastern European person that is hosting you, if you should bring something, they will always tell you no. Because they're already prepared. But that's like a little, song and dance between you. So they're like, no, 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 I don't need anything. But you still should bring something.
Yeah.
That's
True
the
Eastern
rule.
European
So
person.
it's like it's a little silly thing. It's like when British people get on the bus and they do the little no, you first, but you first, but you first. It's the same, just with
Oh,
snacks.
okay. Well, that's a good point. Okay. Yeah.
Just with
I
snacks.
hope
So
that
they're
makes
like,
most sense.
no, no. But you're like, oh, okay, okay, but I'll still bring something. And
Uh,
then you come into the house and they're like, oh, but you didn't have to. But you're like, oh, but I had to.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then it settles and everyone has snacks. That's how you do it. So if you have an Eastern European friend, I'm telling you, just like you brought, like Victoria came today
That's true,
with a
actually.
box of raspberries. So it's like a small bit, like bring some fruit or some biscuits.
Yeah.
It's going to be appreciated.
Okay.
They're going
So,
to tell you no, but still. So I think in your case, it's going to be a bit like an obvious answer. But did you have any well, because you both lived in Edinburgh,
yeah.
that's what I mean. So you didn't really have to have a discussion where to
No, yeah.
settle.
It wasn't even a question, to be honest, because, well, for me, I didn't even want to live in Ukraine anyway. That was the whole reason I moved to start with. So it wasn't really a discussion. My only thing was Michael was living a little bit further away from Edinburgh that I would ideally like, because at that point when I was a student, I lived quite central. But that's just kind of like we had a very good deal on the house that we were living in at the time. So it
Yeah.
was kind of like, yeah, predetermined.
Yeah, but you then came to a
Yeah, and then we decided
compromise.
when we were buying a house, I was like, we absolutely must live a lot closer to Edinburgh, or like we right now live on the edge of Edinburgh, and I will not be moving any further away than we are now because it's perfect.
Yeah, it has really good connections. You have good buses
Yeah.
and everything as well, which is important.
And what about you? Because obviously, like I know that Cameron moved here to be
Yeah.
with you.
So when we started dating, we were long distance between Edinburgh
Yeah.
and Belfast, and but quite early on, we kind of agreed. I mean, I was a bit scarred after because I moved to
Yeah,
England
yeah.
for my ex's job, and that didn't really work out. So I when I came back, I said like I was like I will never ever move for a man again
Okay,
ever.
fair.
Um, but yeah, and I also was like I have a whole life here. Like I have such a strong support system. So, but he lived his whole life in Belfast, so he was really keen.
Okay.
So he was really happy to
Maybe, yeah.
actually move, and especially like I know it's different countries, but it's like moving to a different city in
Yeah.
Poland, pretty much. Um, so no, so
Mm-hmm.
he said like, okay, like when we decide it's going strong and we're serious, he'll be the one making the move. So we agreed on it pretty early on. So it was really nice because we just had a normal conversation. We agreed, so
Okay.
we didn't have to like stress going forward. Like, oh, it's starting to get serious now.
What do we
What
do?
do we do? How do I like broach the subject? We discussed it early on,
Yeah.
and we're on the
So
same page.
one of my friends right now is, which is very interesting. It's not really an international relationship. Well, she's out South African and he's Australian, but they both live in the UK and have been for a very long time.
Oh yeah.
But they live in different cities and they are doing long distance at the moment, so they fly to each other. And he's just asked her if she would move to London, which is where he lives right now. And I think when it comes to London in particular, it's a very difficult decision because London is notoriously very expensive to live in.
Yeah.
And he did not ask her to move in with him. He asked her to move in London just to be kind of closer.
Oh.
Yeah, which in my opinion is very unfair to ask someone, be like, go on and spend like £1,500 on rent in hopes that we will stay together long term. So
No.
I was kind of of an opinion, and I did tell her that as well, just to like, I was like, it's just my opinion. I said, make sure that you only move if your primary reason is you or your job, which for her I think it will be, but not for him. Because what if they break up in 3 months? And then she's stuck paying ridiculous rent in London, potentially heartbroken.
You know what? That kind of happened to my friend. So her ex was really, that was ages ago, he was really adamant on her. So he was a bit older and she applied for universities, and he was really adamant for her to apply for the same city because she wanted to go to a different city. Because they had like the degree she wanted.
Yeah.
But he was really, really adamant for her to like apply so they stay in the same city
Yeah,
because
okay.
he was studying there. So she did, and he dumped her the first week of uni. So that's a really good point. I'm like, I understand being in love and wanting to be close to that person, but you need to have a think about it. And I know you don't, like, when you're so in love, you don't want to
Yeah.
think like, what if? But do you have support system? Are you secure financially in case you need to move
Yeah.
out?
And is there
In
someone else there apart from that person? You know,
like,
like,
yeah, exactly, because that's another thing I would say, general relationship advice is not be too reliant on your partner, as in like, don't move and just him,
yeah,
because then if you're leaving behind your family, you're leaving behind all of your friends, it's very easy to build your whole life around that
one
person.
person.
And like someone said it, that your life, it's like pillars.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your career, and you have your friends, and you have your family, and you have your partner, and you have your hobbies, and like different pillars. And you should focus on all of them, because then if one of the pillars break, the other stand and keep you
Mm-hmm.
standing. While if your only pillar is this person,
Mm-hmm.
and you build everything around that person, and it doesn't work out, then your whole life is in shambles,
Yeah.
basically. Because that was the main person in your life is you,
Yeah.
always. And that's why, and I'm not saying don't move for like someone you love, or like don't do
Yeah.
these things, but you need to keep keep your brains working, not only your heart. Because yeah, I've done that. I moved for a guy for his job, and I quit my job, and I left my friends
Yeah.
and my life in Edinburgh to live in rural England,
That you
out of
didn't
all
like that much.
places. No, the town was lovely, and I met some nice people, and like I don't look back at it as like a really bad time. And I'm actually grateful, because it
Yeah.
showed me I'm really not made for small towns.
Yeah.
And I like city living. But yeah, it's just very, very important, I think. And I was never so grateful for like my old me
Mm.
for putting such a importance into friendships.
Mm.
Like I was never the girl that will meet a boy and like, dump her friends.
Yeah.
Because when we broke up, I had such a strong support system, because people didn't feel like, oh, now that they're not together, she's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's difficult, and the moving in together, and moving, especially when it involves moving cities or moving countries, it's really, really hard. I also lived with a girl, speaking of it,
Mm.
that years ago. So we had flatmates, and it was a couple, and they came from the same country.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she mentioned, like, I don't know, like being unsure of the relationship or whatever.
Mm.
And when I said, oh, well, I mean, if you're unsure, you can always like break up. And she said, oh, but then I'd have to go back to my home country. And I'm like, but why? She had a job
Yeah. Yeah.
in Edinburgh. She had, everything. But that, like, she attached being in Edinburgh
To
to the
being with that
person.
person.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. So they were like, oh, if I'm not with him, there's no reason for me to be here. Don't do that. That's what I'm
No.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Have a life outside of the relationship. It's very, very important. And if it all works out even better, then you have a rich life filled with friends and a great partner and a family and
Yeah.
hobbies and other areas, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you'd like to talk about this a bit, because it's something that doesn't affect me.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, you needed a visa.
Yeah. So this is, and I feel like now that UK, for example, and there are lots of international relationships in Europe in general, because Europe is so free in terms of movement and where you can live. But now that UK is also, and Brexit happened, and everyone who had relationships with someone from Europe, they kind of struggled if they didn't have a free settled status. In my case, I needed a visa anyway. So it was kind of like we had to make what was probably the biggest decision of our lives, is to get married. Because I did not manage to get a work visa at the time, the one I needed. And I also got stuck in Ukraine during COVID, so it made
Yeah.
everything like triple more difficult. And our relationship was still very early on. By that time, we had been only together for like a year, so it's not very long.
Yeah.
And that's when we kind of like had to have that conversation. I was like, okay, when I come back, what are we gonna do? Because if I was to be on the work visa, I'm only limited to one job with one employer. But if you're on a spouse visa, you can do whatever you want. You can
Yeah.
be self-employed. You can work for anyone. So it was kind of like up to Michael to be like, am I gonna give you this
Yeah. Of
life
course.
really? Because it does come down of like, will that person be willing to give you? And there's so many stories on like Facebook forums of how people got married, being 3 months into a relationship, they got a visa, and then the relationship breaks down and the visa needs to be cancelled because, well, you are in the country because of this person.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other, like, this is a whole topic, but that's another thing. Like, you need to make sure your relationship is strong. And then even when me and Michael were obviously getting together and started living together, we went through a lot of things together, and we it's kind of like still getting to know each other as you
Yeah.
are. Like the first 3 years of being together, I think, are essential to like get to know each other, live together. We had a couple of months of actually living together before I went to Ukraine and got stuck there.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew I could live with him. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that he does that would make it impossible. But overall, visas are very difficult. Visas are very expensive, and you need folders upon folders of like papers to prove your relationship as well. So it's not just being very heavy in terms of admin and financials, it's also very hard on your feelings because you need to, if you're going through this, you at least need to give it a decent shot. And are you sure it's the person that you want to be for the rest of your life with? And I think that's when a lot of relationships actually break down, when someone says, sorry, no, but I'm not actually ready to commit to sponsoring your visa, or things like this. And I've seen and I know people who had that happen to them. But I totally understand this because just as much as it is, so see if you're an international in the UK, for example, or in the US, whatever, as much as it is stressful for you to get the visa, it's also very stressful to the person who takes the responsibility because they're essentially telling the government that they can provide for you, that they will not like protect you, but they will sponsor your life here.
Yeah.
At
That
at the
that you're kind of
start,
their
yeah,
responsibility.
and at the start you're their dependent. So at the start, at the very least, you have to make sure that they can support you, which is very challenging, and it's almost like, God, it's a bit too difficult for the very early stages of a relationship. But we survived it, so we're fine.
Yeah. There you go. Years later, still
Yeah,
together.
still there. 5 years married this year.
Yeah.
Down.
Amazing. Right. Well, you're married now, but let's assume you're not for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Would you date a Ukrainian?
I don't know. Well, it's kind of like I dated one. We
Mm-hmm.
had a 4 year long relationship, and it was a very toxic relationship. So I haven't dated any other Ukrainians, so I wouldn't know. I probably wouldn't date one abroad because if it's a
Mm-hmm.
bit too close to home. But see, if I was back in Ukraine, I mean, probably, yeah, because there are not that many other options.
Yeah.
But
But I
yeah,
mean more here.
no, probably not. I wouldn't go out looking for them. No. What about you? No.
No. No, well, never say never. Obviously, if I met someone and like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is the person for me. But no, again, like I moved abroad to like
For a
experience life
reason.
abroad. If I wanted to
To
have a,
experience international men.
I moved out of Poland because I don't like certain traits of Polish people,
Okay, yeah, makes
which
sense.
sounds harsh, but it's the truth. And I think I would struggle with that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there if someone lives here, they might have changed the way they think or like look for something similar like me. But no, I don't think so. It's really nice to like. I really appreciate now being in a relationship previously when we were from two different countries, but we lived in yet another country. So both of our families were far. I didn't like the fact that, for example, we never traveled because we just went between Poland and Spain.
Right. Yeah.
And I really appreciate my boyfriend's family being closer to us now. I'm like glad like his mom just can fly over and
Yeah.
come for a weekend, or his dad. It's just nice to see them, and it's easier to organize it. And I kind of, the older I get, like I wish we had our families even closer. But yeah, it's a nice change. Maybe to wrap it up, I think we touched upon a lot of very common topics when it comes to relationships abroad. Mind you, like we said, I don't think our relationships are necessarily extremely different because the culture is still relatively similar.
It's the same
So
continent after all.
yeah, so it's we're not in like multiracial relationships. We're not in, you know, like
Very
different
different,
like
like religion.
religions or beliefs. So it's definitely much easier to find a common ground as well.
I
So we don't
think,
have any experience, but if you are
yeah.
an even more varied relationship than we are, like let us know. And yeah, just maybe comment in on Spotify. You can leave comments, which is
Yeah.
really nice. So you can tell us your story and where you and your partner are from. But let's just now talk about things that are not true, but just cause we can.
Okay.
So obviously we live in Edinburgh with our partners, but if you could build your life from scratch with Michael, where do you think you'd both live?
So we kind of have this ongoing conversation. I don't think it's really serious in any way. We're just chatting about it because I'm still going through my immigration journey 7 years later. Like I'm on the last stretch right now. I have in a year's time it will be complete. Like I will be able to apply for indefinite leave to remain, and that's done. But we do talk about states, and Michael has his own reasons for wanting to live there. And I'm kind of like, if I go somewhere that I really like and I think it could be nicer than Edinburgh, then I would. But it's very, like, I find it hard to believe that anything will top Edinburgh for me. However, there are two people who have been telling me that Boston is very much like Edinburgh, but just a huge city. And the look of it on social media is nice. It has lovely, like, little streets that remind me of Edinburgh. And whenever I asked Americans who have been and who live there, it's only positive. Like, I haven't actually heard any very negative thoughts yet. One thing I know, it's very expensive. So, like, an average price of a house in Boston is like $600,000, which is still, like, for the States specifically, like in Texas, you can buy a house for a very nice, huge house for $250,000. So, and that's kind of like what puts us off essentially because we know we can move to Texas for very cheap.
Would you like to live in Texas?
No, but that's another story, right? So Boston at the moment sounds nice, but we haven't been yet, so I can't really talk about it seriously because I wouldn't move somewhere I've never been before again. I moved like this to Edinburgh and I liked it. I'm not sure I'll be like it twice. Michael, however, thinks he can live in Florida, in Orlando in particular. I am categorically against it for two reasons. I want to live in a place where I can go hiking, where I can easily like go swim, where I have four seasons. Florida is a summer all year round, and I also hate the heat.
Yeah, that's not
And to
ideal.
me, day to day survival is very important, and I don't think I'm able to survive Florida weather. So we're kind of like, if we do it at some point in our life, it has to be the place that fits both of us, and we don't think we have even verbally agreed on what that would potentially be. So yeah, that's the stance.
Fair enough.
I think I know your answer though.
Oh, well, I mean, when it comes to me, I always have an edge to move somewhere.
Yeah.
I honestly think about it on a weekly basis. I was like, just I don't
Can
get me
move
wrong.
now.
I love Edinburgh, but I think I don't know. Maybe I should get that checked because I feel it's like a dopamine issue. It's like moving places gives me such a dopamine rush, and being in a new place. So, but obviously it passes, and then I just get bored in a place I know. So yeah, maybe I should work on that.
Maybe you just need to move a flat again.
No.
Different area.
No, because I moved around Edinburgh so much. It's like it's same. It's same thing. It's same thing. So realistically, we wouldn't move anywhere anytime soon. Um, but I'd love to live in New Zealand.
Or
Ha-
even just like you said, for a couple of
for
years.
a couple of years. It's too far.
Yeah.
It's too far. That's the only issue with it, because yeah, it took us 24 hours to get
Yeah, it's
there.
crazy.
It is mad, and it's not a flight you can do even once a year, really.
Like, yeah, that's if you're doing that once a year, that's about as much as you want to do it.
But the problem then is you have to go for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, you need to also go for a very long time, and if you have a certain kind of job, like you might not just be able to get
Yeah.
that time off, and etc. etc.
So that's why I'm kind of always thinking about it. Like I would not. Well, if we were serious about it, we'd move somewhere that is English speaking,
Yeah.
right? Which obviously narrows the gap. I wouldn't move to America. I couldn't, like I'm on the other side of this. I would
Yeah.
love to visit, but you could not pay me to live in that country. I'm sorry to all Americans, but it's just a no-no. I wouldn't want to live in Canada because it's cold, and I'm again on the other. Like I want more sun. I wouldn't live in Australia because I'm terrified of spiders.
Okay.
So that leaves us with well, I wouldn't live in South Africa either
Yeah.
because it's quite dangerous. So it leaves us with New Zealand, which is perfect. Like the temperature's perfect, the views amazing. Like it's so nice there, and you have like you can hike, you can swim, you have honestly the nature is unreal. The people are nice, they speak English. It's at the bloody end of the world.
Yeah.
So
Far
not
away as
for
it
now,
gets.
but I would also there's a part of me that would like to live in like a small village in Italy.
But
I
much
just
closer.
I just know in general that is my like huge goal. I want to live on the coast. And by that I mean I want to open my window and be on the by the beach
Okay.
or by the water. I want to live in a coastal property. Where it's gonna be is TBD, but that's like
Yeah.
I can honestly like I can see it, and I feel like such a strong pull to being by the sea. So I don't know if Cameron knows, but I think he's kind of like, yeah, okay.
He will do it for you.
Yeah, I think as long as it's like he said literally, like as long as we can both like work and have a decent life, he
Yeah, that's
wouldn't be
another thing.
opposed.
Like you can. That's another issue with moving and making that decision together, because if you are both from like different countries and you're making that decision to go somewhere, your careers are very important here, and some people like might not be willing to change their career. So like for Michael, like his job is very concentrated on, and all of his contacts are very concentrated here, whereas I know I'll probably be able to get a job almost anywhere, whether I do photography or social media, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
that's true.
And for him is like, is the trade the same in the States? I heard it is, but it's like it's very appreciated as well. But is it like, how does it work? How do you build up the contacts?
Are people gonna understand what he's saying? I
That's
think
another thing.
I'm. You think I'm joking, but like it's
I know.
an actual issue with people who have really strong like Irish and Scottish accents. It's not that obvious. So yeah, I mean, realistically, I kind of do enjoy the peacefulness of. Is that even a word?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Of not having to move, but yeah, maybe I just need to travel. Maybe I just need to book
Yeah,
another
you
holiday.
need to travel more. I'm very happy in Edinburgh. The only thing I would say, if I could skip Scottish winter, like go somewhere for 3 months, I would be very. I really enjoy Scottish summer.
That's what I said. If I won Euro Millions, that is my dream. I would live half a year in New Zealand and half a year in Europe.
Yeah.
So I would come for like European summers, spring, summer, and I would like have a base in Edinburgh, but I would like go to Poland and like stay for a month and just enjoy this like Polish summer and Polish produce and the warmth and just like jump countries. And then once it's getting to autumn, I just pack my bags and have another summer in New Zealand.
Sounds good.
Like perpetual summer. Well, but for now, we're here in Edinburgh. and we're happy. Also, I think like how would we? I literally thought about this. I'm not moving anywhere, but I was like, how do we record a podcast?
Well, yeah, I know people who record a podcast online, but it doesn't have good vibes. It's just very difficult. So for now, we're gonna have to stick here.
Yeah, we're here on this sofa and on your sofa.
Yeah.
So, if you have any questions about dating foreigners and dating abroad, please let us know. Also, like I said earlier, leave comments if you are in, multicultural relationships or just with people from different countries. And if you have any interesting stories, please do share them with us.
We'd also like to know if you categorically disagree with anything we said, because I think experiences can be very different. And,
Definitely.
if you are Eastern European or somewhere from Europe and you dated someone from the UK and went horribly wrong and you think it's because of the culture, do let us know. But otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in once again with us. Can't believe we're doing season 2 still. It's crazy.
I know.
But thanks so much for listening. Please follow us. We are at Matcha Morning Club absolutely everywhere: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We do also have a Threads profile. We should start posting more in there.
Yes.
But thank you so much for listening or watching if you're on YouTube once again. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye bye.
Bye.